My name's David Clements. I'm chairman and founder of Future Designs. I'm in Mayfair at my favourite cafe, Langan's Brasserie. This is the first in a series of podcasts, the name of which is The Long Lunch. Now I'm joined today by someone quite close to me, the managing director of Future Designs, who coincidentally is my son, Oliver Clements.
Hello, I'm Oliver Clements and I'm the managing director of Future Designs.
In the dark days of 1991, during what was the largest and worst recession for the UK, interest rates had hit 17%, companies were going out of business left, right and centre, and I was working with my brother as a salesman, selling emergency lighting, and sadly that business went into administration due to bad debt. Nothing to do with the bad running of the business. And we formed Future Designs out of the ashes, but Future Designs was to become a lighting company, something I knew nothing about other than they lit desks and lit hotel rooms and lit my lounge. And that was how the business started.
My very first memory, I've actually got a picture of it on my desk, is a picture of me sitting at David's first desk in Croydon when they opened the factory, and it's me, sitting at the desk just as a probably two-year-old kid. But then moving on from that, probably when I was a bit older, I used to work in the factory, just helping on the assembly line in the summer holidays when I needed a few quid to go and buy a new pair of trainers or, have a cricket bat or something like that. And that would be my earliest memories of Future Designs, because while I helped out in the factory in my summer holidays, I still didn't really know massively what the business did. That didn't come till very much later on in life. There was never any sort of discussions at that age of, me going to work for Dad, me joining the business. And rightly or wrongly, there wasn't really any interest in that time, if I'm honest. Once I'd sort of done school, came out of school, and went off to do the other things that I did, there wasn't. It was just a conversation we never had. It wasn't till much later on in my early 20s when we probably started having the conversation. When I came back from Asia, that was when we had the conversation. Yeah. I actually came back because I wanted to go to college or university to get some qualifications so I could go back to Asia, but there was a different path that was discussed, and then I ended up joining Future Designs.
David, did you decide before Oliver that he was going to be joining Future Designs, do you think?
I wanted to give him an opportunity to join us, but I was always terribly concerned about losing my dear friendship with my son. I was always concerned that if we worked together and fell out, that you could fall out. And I come from a family that is so fragmented and people not talking to each other that I never wanted that to happen. So when Oliver and I said to Oliver, do you want to come and give this a go? I said, come and see what you think for 6 months, see how you get on, see if you like it, and we'll take it from there. But there's nothing lost, nothing gained in 6-8 months. Let's just try what we're going to do and see. That's how it started, and 15 years later, he's now has the day-to-day responsibility of running one of the largest lighting companies in the UK.
I spent the first year doing sort of 3 or 4 months with production, technical, estimation, and then sales. So it wasn't till a year in that we sat down and said, where would I fit best? What did I want to do? Did I want to stay in design? Did I want to stay in technical? And that's when I decided that I wanted to go out doing sales, doing what my dad did and how he built the business, because I think I'm more suited to that. I think for those people that know me, I'm not the best person to just sit in an office all day long typing away at a computer. I like being out, I like meeting people, going to site, visiting my jobs, visiting the other sales guys' jobs now. After that, when I did sort of join the sales team, we'd sort of agreed that I couldn't report direct to David, because that wouldn't have worked, I don't think. So I had a manager and I had another director that I reported to before I even went near Dad. And I think that was a really good decision that we'd made when we did it, because it kept us further apart from each other in the early days when we both were sort of learning, his style, my style, yeah, it was really important to do that, and it worked very well.
So just going back then to 15 years when you first began, at what stage was the business in your head at that point, David?
I always thought of it as always trying to punch well above its weight, because our general competitors are multinational organisations, and they're still the same today.
Yeah, it hasn't really changed, has it?
That hasn't changed. And we probably now sit, I don't know, top 3 organisations providing lighting solutions for the office fit-out market in the UK and Europe and the Middle East. It's a little bit like getting old. You don't know it's happening until it happens, and then one day you look at it and go, crikey, this is quite a big business. And that's where we are now. And the legacy of that for me, it puts a smile on my face, but also gives me a confidence of knowing that it's in great hands with Ollie at the helm, and his other board directors who've been with me many years, longer than Oliver.
Yeah, both of them. Yeah.
But they're 3 very tight people running the organisation daily. And there's even a chance I might get some hair to grow back now, just because the pressure's not as great as it was.
How long had Ollie been working with you when you started to think, oh, maybe I haven't got to think about selling a business, or maybe I've got my future leader, and sort of really thinking about legacy? And importantly, did you tell Ollie?
In my head, probably after 7 years, I didn't want him to stay and be part of it to please me. That was so important. But what I didn't want was that he thought, I don't like doing this, but I don't want to let my dad down now. So I would far rather that we both looked at it and went, look, he wants to go back doing one of his previous types of work, but that was about the time when I thought he gets it and I think he wants to do it. And that's when we started just talking about, do you like it here? You're going to stay? Yes. And I believed him. That's not to say I wouldn't believe him, but sometimes parents and children can say things that aren't always meant, just to make someone feel good. So that was really important. But then it went on to where Oliver joined the board, how long ago? 5 years?
Yeah, it must have been, yeah, something like that.
It's 5 years.
Maybe 6 years. Isn't it?
But at least 18 months before that, I asked him to, no, I didn't ask him, I said, I want to put you on the board of directors, and he said, I'm not ready, which was a pretty bold move, a bit of a downer for me, because he said, I'm not ready yet. And it was 2 years later that I said to him, right, now is the time. And that was about the start of COVID, wasn't it? Just before COVID.
Yeah, 21 would have been, yeah.
Yeah, so, and that's when a lot of realities came into the world of what we wanted to do, taking things forward. And I knew he was right. I knew he understood it. I knew he got it. His work ethic is exceptional. And so there's a comfort to that.
Yeah, and there's been sort of moments and tough times throughout those years that you sort of do go, yeah, do I like it? Do I not? Do I want to stay? Do I not? But look, at the end of it, once I decided it was what I want to do, and like Dad said, when he asked if I wanted to go on the board, and I said I wasn't ready, that was probably the biggest decision I'd made that had almost settled my fate, that I knew what I wanted to do, but I wasn't ready to do it yet. I didn't just want to join the board because I wanted to be on the board. It meant nothing to me in terms of just the title change and things like that. I didn't just want to be a board director. I wanted to be there because I felt I was right to be there. And that's why I said no. And then, 2 years later on, that's when I accepted and said yes, because the time did feel right. It was more than just a title change for me. It was I'd made my plan on what I wanted to do, and that was why.
He had a far more difficult time than any other staff member, being my son. I don't think I treated him any differently. I certainly didn't treat him any differently from a pleasant point of view. But what was also for him is his name. His name's Clements. So there's people in the business, you can't help that. Well, he's got that because of that. The only reason Oliver was made a director and sales manager, sales director, now managing director, is because of his ability to do the job. If he didn't have that, then he wouldn't have that role in my business, because as a business we're responsible for, I don't know, 120 mortgages a month. That's what the business has to, that's the way I've always looked at it. All the team that work there, they have a responsibility to the business, but the business has a responsibility to make sure that they always have a job. We've never made a redundancy, never made a loss. And to say that about a business that's 35 years old and been through 3 recessions and started in one, they're points that we're terribly proud of.
Yeah.
And Ollie gets that, and he looks at it the same way.
I'm always going to be like him because I'm his son, and I'm always going to work in similar sort of ways because I'm his son, and also I've sort of grown up watching him, how he's built this brilliant business. But there are other things that you have to sort of create and be your own. But look, having the Clements surname has always, 99% of the time, been a good thing. There was one, do you remember, there was one, we won't say any names, but there was no, I can't say a name, but there was one, it was at one certain small consultancy practice that we used to deal with, and when I sort of joined the sales team, it was sort of left for me to, you know, it was a business that I would go and pick up on, and so I did, but then we didn't get any work, and I spent a lot of time trying to grow the relationship, but we didn't get anything out of it. And then the certain gentleman that owned the business phoned Dad one day and said, I suggest you don't send your son in to see our business anymore because it doesn't go down well because his surname's Clements. And I think that was the last time.
He actually said that to me. He said, what you need to do is send someone in here with a different surname. I said, he's got my surname. He said, yeah, he said, that it's not a surname in here that's very highly thought of. I thought he was joking to start with.
Yeah.
Because it's the sort of thing you'd say. But no, he was serious. I said, well, let it not bother you. I said, we won't bother trading with your business. It's easier.
Can we talk a bit about how you do handle conflict? Because I don't believe with your personalities there aren't some.
At the same time, you know, it's a business at the end of the day. We'll always disagree in some things, but I don't think we've ever had a proper I'm right, you're wrong, walk out the room situation ever. Not one that I can think of.
No, you're right. But I think most of the reason for that is because we're aware that you can't allow personality to come into what we do.
Yeah.
We have business discussions, we decide on a view, decide what's right, and we go ahead.
Yeah.
And we do that. And also there's a particular substance called vodka that we're both very fond of. And if things get too tight, well, let's go and have some vodkas with ice and just.
Yeah, that's the most important bit, I think.
What, the vodka or the fact we can go?
No, the fact that if it gets too heated, it gets too on top, or you know, you can't let things fester. You have to say it. And the really important thing is you cut the business out of it and you go next door to our showroom and we have a vodka and we have a chat, and it's not about work. And instantly, within 5 minutes, you forget about the whole thing and you're back to being friends again. You have to have, in what we're doing, you have to be able to have that switch where you can turn it off, because otherwise it just festers.
Yeah, and in fact, we had one last week.
Yeah.
There was an instance, doesn't matter what it was, but something that was said to me, I thought, yeah, not 100% happy with that. 10 years ago, I'd have probably reared up, because now I'm on a different type of medication and far more relaxed. But the fact of it is that, you know, 2 days later, I'm out with him. And I said, yeah, you said something to me. And he went, I'm sorry, didn't realise I said it. I said, I know that, I know you didn't mean it, but I'm just telling you. And it's done in a minute and buried. But the issue comes, it's like all relationships, if you allow things to gestate and to sit there smouldering away, and then something else happens, you can have 4 different minor issues that all of a sudden make one major problem in all walks of life. contract-wise, we've supplied projects where one little thing can tip into a problem. But if everything's discussed and dealt with when they're tiny, that's how you deal with it, and that's whether they're personal, commercial, doesn't matter. Deal with any problem you've got the moment you see it, the moment you get a whisper of it.
Can we talk a little bit about different styles of business, if you even acknowledge it, which you may not do?
When Ollie first joined, so 15 years ago, LED had just started taking over from fluorescent, but it was the biggest quantum leap in the lighting manufacturing since flame. It was that big, and that's changed. It's completely changed at the format of our business.
Yeah.
In fact, we talk to designers now, architects, interior designers, lighting designers, because there is so much more innovation involved in illuminating an office space than there was, which is exciting.
Yeah, the level of technical that we now have to know to be involved in probably doubled, tripled since I first started. But then again, when I first started, I never even bothered to learn anything about fluorescent, because while it was still quite a major, it was still the light source of use when I first joined the business. It was very rapidly being phased out. That's the biggest thing that sort of I've learnt from working with Dad is that, you know, meeting people, seeing people, maintaining relationships, being able to pick the phone up. So I don't think anything's changed that rapidly, if I'm honest, in terms of the way the industry works.
He's far more tenacious. It's tenacious, probably not tenacious. He's far more abrupt about projects and people. If people say to us, we're using you on this project, he doesn't let them forget that they said that. I think he has a stronger mindset than I used to have at his age. But having said that, it was very hand to mouth all those years ago. You know, it was a different type of business. People do call us now, people do specify us, people do use us because of our reputation within a marketplace that stands in great stead. But when I started, it was, you know, who are you? You know, and if someone out there now in the office fit out world hasn't heard of Future Designs, then I guess they've been living under a stone for a long time. When I bought my brother out, we rented a place in Edenbridge. We rented a factory, and I was sort of up to here in debt then. And then overnight, the landlord of where we were, there was a break clause in the lease, and they said I had to be out in 6 months. I was like, oh. And we'd only moved down there, I don't know, 2 years before, took all the staff out of Croydon, so that I didn't really need that. But I just came across this premises that was on the market, which is now the Lighthouse, and it was a dump, it was horrible. But the guys that owned it, I made an offer, and the estate agent came straight and said they're not interested, they want the full asking price, not interested. And I was walking round that particular estate one day with Leon Ellis, my dear mate who's been with me since the day after I started the business, and we walked past, and the guy that we'd seen show us round was standing in the car park. Oh, hello. He said, you came and looked at the place? I said, yeah. I said, we made an offer and you weren't interested. He said, we never got an offer. Oh, so estate agents, yeah. Anyway, so I told him what the offer was, and he said yes, and we ended up buying it. So that, things like that, project-wise, I mean, there's been some massive, huge projects that we did. But I remember the driving test centres. We did, I think, 180 driving test centres in 7 months or something. Relit them all, and that was a massive achievement at the time. Then, of course, Crossrail, winning the bespoke products on Crossrail. It took 4.5, 5 years, cost us hundreds of thousands of pounds in development, but we won what became the biggest project to date that we've completed.
But I suppose things like opening Dubai, that was a big thing for the business, because again, very little work in the UK. It wasn't long after I joined, was it?
2010, 2011,
work
yeah.
had dried up in the UK, and we didn't really know what to do. So we went over and saw a mate of ours, didn't we, that had moved over there to go and run a big firm over there. And yeah, he said, I can't work with you unless you've got an office out there. And then probably more recently, the move to Soho. I think to come out of Farringdon, where we'd been for a long time, probably 9 years. We had 3 places in Farringdon, but they were all sublet from someone else. So it never quite felt like home. But then to go and have our own building, our own premises, more people wanted to come and see us, or want to come and see us in Soho than I ever remember. You know, people wanting to come and see us in Farringdon. The number of project meetings and sample viewings and tech sub review meetings and those sort of meetings that we have now in Soho that we never had in Farringdon, because it was always us going out to see people. But I think people now want to, for whatever reason, maybe because it's more central, I don't know, but we hold a lot more meetings in Soho. But I think it just helped just elevate the brand just that little bit more.
2023 was a very tough year for the business. It was a bit of the tail end of the COVID drama. The office fit out had slowed up for us anyway, and so it was a tough year, and we're about to take on the expense of this new building, not a new but newly refurbished building. And so I believe that Oliver's push at me saying we should do it, and that's the difference in younger, enthusiastic people with a brain taking over businesses, because it's ever so easy to go, we'll just go out and spend every penny that we've put in our war chest to make us as strong and stable as we are. But he didn't do that. But what he did say was that this place will make a difference, and if he hadn't been there, I don't believe we'd be in Soho.
I wasn't really involved in the negotiation bits. I knew the cost, but I didn't really know the full ins and outs of it. And then it wasn't until we went and sat in the client's office when we were sort of doing the final deal, and David made a comment, something along the lines of, we were talking about the lease break and it's 5 years, and it was something along the lines of, well, that won't be my problem then. And I was like, oh, yeah, that means that'll be my problem. And that was when it sort of hit home that all of a sudden we're about to sign this building, and yeah,
Don't worry, it'll still be my problem as well. I'm not going anywhere.
But yeah, that was sort of a bit of an eye opener for me. I think it's changed the way I work as well. You know, I just love being there. The area, you know, the office, the staff, people that come and see us there. You know, we hold some fantastic events there.
We got our own bar.
Yeah, you should come and see us.
Should we talk about ambitions moving forward?
We had our full staff conference a couple of months back, which is where, so sort of it was a year last week since I took over my new role, and sort of I think the goal for the first year was just, not that the ship was unsteady, but get my feet under the desk, learn, you know, the bits that I had to learn, get the staff comfortable with everything that was happening. But yeah, when we had the conference a couple of months ago, it was time to sort of let them know what my vision was and what my sort of interpretation of what the future was going to look like. So yeah, I sort of put together my 5 pillars of growth. So one is efficiencies in manufacturing. We want to look at that. We're pretty good. We're very good, but I think there's always work to be done. Getting stuff out the door quicker. How can things be made faster? Still of the same quality, but just looking at that 1%. Who was the guy that took over the Sky cycling team, and he introduced the mantra of...
Oh, Brailsford, David Brailsford.
So
David Brailsford, yeah.
He introduced that mantra of, if you can just do everything 1% better, don't try and do everything 100% better. Just pick key points and do everything 1% better. And that's what I'm sort of now trying to look at with Paul and Leon and some of the senior management team that are coming through with me. New products, always a moving target, but as the market changes, you know, years ago when I first joined, it was closed ceilings and modular fittings. Now it's very much exposed and linear, but I do feel there might be another slight change in the trend coming in the next few years. And then you've got Carbon Careful, which is the sustainability aspect that we've got, where we take existing product and we convert it to LED. There was also the take back scheme, so we also launched return to reuse in September this year, which is basically where Vane, which is it is our most successful linear extruded system. We've supplied over 1,000 kilometres in the last 12 years of supplying it to the UK market. So there's a lot of it out there. But the return to reuse scheme now is basically, if you're stripping a building out and it's got that product in there, we will take it back. Oh, and the fifth one was to grow the Middle East. We've been there, say, 12 odd years now, and it's always been a good part of the business. But I feel that, you know, to grow the business, you've got to grow every element of it, and we've got to look at the Middle East, and we've got to grow that more, because that's how things grow and move forward. So, yeah, we're looking. Obviously, we got Dubai, Abu Dhabi, KSA is a big one to start looking at, which we are already looking at.
So, David, while Ollie's doing this, what are you going to be doing? Yeah, not hanging up your shiny shoes yet, are you?
I've always believed in this, that I don't actually know what a chairman is. I thought it was someone much older than me. But the fact is, I'm still a salesman. I still, you know, I got on the train this morning and I'm making appointments in the Middle East, and I'm still looking at projects. He knows what I'm like. All weekend, every night, I'm sending things out to the sales guys. Go and check this out, do that. So I never changed what I do that way. The company's doing incredibly well, and it's had 2 very big years, and I believe 26 will be a big year. But none of us really know what's around the corner when things go wrong. And what I have to make sure of is that the foundation is still as strong to see through grim times. Yeah. And that, because that's they're not skills I was born with, they're skills I learnt through things going wrong. There's nothing you're born with that says work out what to do when there's no work. What I'm most excited about is having watched the business form, grow, be established, get to where it's got in its 35 years. But at the helm of it now, this group of 3, the 3 directors, obviously Oliver, Leon Ellis, Paul Node, to see them running this business and doing so well is massively satisfying to me, and makes it very comfortable, because there are people out there who have businesses similar to Future Designs but don't have a legacy for it, don't have something, and that makes me feel very lucky, very, very fortunate.
The exciting bit for me, obviously, we love Leon, love Paul, known them most of my life, but we all know, again, like we've done with David, that there is a time where they will both also look at it and go, yeah, do you know what, we're done now. But we've spent the last sort of 5 years of building a brilliant sort of younger generation that's coming through, and we've got this fantastic senior leadership team that is ready and there to go. You know, so when the current board all go, we've already got this brilliant leadership team of people that have been with us 5 years, 10 years already, that are all sitting, waiting in the wings, ready to take this on to the next level.
That's a great point.
And
that's a great point. Yeah.
The people I've come up with, they're my version of Leon and Paul, because I've come up with them. We've worked together, yeah, like I said, 5-10 years already. So yeah, the fact that we've got this depth in staff is exciting and very reassuring for me as well, because you know they're big boots to fill, and it's got to be done right.
What we've all done, as I've often said, it's much better than having a proper job.